When I bought my first Carbide Burr set a few years ago, I was excited to dive into metalworking and woodworking projects, envisioning smooth engravings and precise shaping with my rotary tool. But like many beginners, I jumped in without much research, grabbing a bargain set from an online marketplace that promised versatility for under $20. What followed was a series of frustrating discoveries: dull burrs after just a few uses, scorched workpieces from incorrect speeds, and a nagging sense that I'd wasted money on tools that couldn't handle real work. Looking back, there are at least 15 key lessons I wish I'd known beforehand, from debunking myths about cut types to understanding why cheap sets fail so quickly. These insights, drawn from my trial and error experiences and later consultations with seasoned fabricators, could have saved me time, money, and a few singed fingers. Sharing them here in the hope that your first set becomes a smart investment rather than a regrettable one. First off, I had no idea how crucial burr shapes were to matching the tool to the task, and I ended up with a set heavy on cylindrical burrs that were great for flat grinding but useless for the curved detailing I wanted on wooden signs. Cylindrical shapes excel at straight edges and slots, but without ball-nosed or cone varieties, I struggled to access tight contours or create smooth radii, forcing me to improvise with files that took forever. Lesson 1. Always assess your projects first. Opt for sets with a balanced mix of shapes like cylindrical for deburring, ball for hollowing, and tapered cones for angles and V-grooves. My second set, with this variety, transformed my workflow, letting me tackle everything from knife sharpening to jewelry making without frustration. Shank size compatibility was another blind spot. I assumed all burrs fit my Dremel, but the 1/4-inch shanks in my cheap set wobbled in the 1/8-inch collet, causing vibrations that dulled them prematurely and risked tool damage. Not all rotary tools or die grinders accommodate every shank. Most hobbyist Dremels use 1/8-inch, while industrial grinders prefer 1/4-inch, so I learned to check my tool's specs before buying. A mismatched shank not only leads to poor performance, but can eject the burr mid-use, turning a simple engraving into a safety hazard. Stick to sets that match your primary tool, or buy adapters if needed, but never force it. Material compatibility snuck up on me when I tried using metal-focused burrs on wood, resulting in splintered edges and rapid wear because the aggressive flutes tore rather than cut cleanly. Carbide burrs are versatile, but single-cut ones shine on softer woods and non-ferrous metals like aluminum, while double cuts handle hardwoods and steels better. I wish I'd known that using the wrong type on mismatched materials accelerates dulling. My set's uniform double cuts gummed up on pine, embedding fibers that required hours of cleaning. Always preview your materials. A good set should include both cut types for flexibility across projects. Speaking of cuts, I fell for the myth that single-cut burrs are always superior for fine work, buying into online hype that portrayed them as the precision choice over double cuts, which some called too aggressive. In reality, single cuts produce a smoother finish on soft materials by shearing in one direction, but they're slower and prone to clogging on metals, while double cuts crisscross flutes, clear chips faster, and reduce heat, perfect for most metalworking. My early projects suffered from overheating because I avoided double cuts, thinking they'd leave a rough surface. Turns out, with proper speeds, they yield comparable finishes and last longer overall. Debunk that myth. Choose based on material, not preconceptions. RPM guidelines were a game changer I ignored at my peril. My first set's instructions were vague, so I ran everything at max speed, around 35,000 RPM, scorching aluminum and splintering wood before I even finished a cut. Different materials demand specific ranges: 10,000 to 20,000 RPM for woods to avoid burning, 15,000 to 30,000 for metals like steel to prevent work hardening, and even lower for titanium to manage heat. I learned this the hard way after ruining a brass plaque. Now, I always use a variable speed tool and test on scrap, listening for that smooth whine instead of grinding chatter. Wrong RPMs don't just damage your workpiece. They shorten burr life by causing microfractures in the carbide. Why do cheap Amazon sets fail so fast? I found out firsthand when my $15 assortment dulled after 20 minutes on mild steel welds. The flutes rounding off because they used low-grade tungsten carbide with inconsistent grain sizes and weak binders. These budget options often come from overseas factories skimping on quality control, leading to uneven cutting edges that overheat and chip easily, unlike premium brands like Ferd or Morse that use high cobalt carbide for 5 to 10 times the durability. My set's shanks bent under light pressure too, revealing soft steel instead of hardened alloy. Invest in mid-range sets, $50 to $100, from reputable suppliers. The longevity pays off in fewer replacements and better results. Storage and maintenance were overlooked until my Burrs rusted in a damp toolbox, their cutting edges pitted and ineffective after just a few months. I wish I'd known to store them in a dry, organized case with foam inserts to prevent contact scratches and to clean them post-use with a nylon brush dipped in solvent to remove embedded metal particles. Neglect this, and even quality burrs degrade. My routine now includes inspecting for wear and rotating through the set to extend each one's life up to 50 hours of use. Safety gear isn't optional, but I skimped initially, thinking gloves and goggles were overkill for small Dremel jobs, until a flying chip from a high-speed burr scratched my cornea. Always wear ANSI-rated safety glasses, a dust mask for fine particles, especially titanium, and cut-resistant gloves. Secure workpieces in a vise to avoid slips. I also learned to work in well-ventilated spaces, as grinding certain metals releases fumes that irritated my lungs. Applying too much pressure was my biggest habit error. I pressed hard thinking it'd speed things up, but it caused overheating, burr binding, and kickback that nearly took a finger. Light, consistent pressure lets the RPMs do the work. Aim for just enough to maintain contact. This lesson came after warping a thin metal bracket. Now, short passes with pauses to clear chips keep everything cool and precise. Tool compatibility extends beyond shanks. Not all rotary tools handle carbide burrs' torque demands, and my underpowered cordless Dremel bogged down on steel, stalling the motor. Upgrade to a pneumatic or corded model with at least 1.5 amps for metals. This ensures steady speeds without strain, preserving both tool and burr. Burr life expectancy varies wildly. I expected my cheap set to last months, but they gave out in weeks, while my current USA-made ones endure 30 to 50 hours per burr with proper care. Factors like material hardness and usage technique play in. Track yours by noting hours per project to predict replacements. Where to buy matters. After Amazon disappointments, I switched to industrial suppliers like McMaster Carr or Grainger for certified sets with warranties, avoiding knockoffs with fake carbide claims. Read reviews from verified pros, not just star ratings. Sets versus individual purchases. My all-in-one set seemed economical, but lacking specifics, no fine-point burrs for engraving, left gaps. Start with a 10-piece mixed set, then buy singles for niche needs. It's more cost-effective long-term. Cleaning methods evolved for me. Wire brushes work for metals, but for wood residue, ultrasonic cleaners or simple soapy soaks prevent buildup. Avoid harsh abrasives that could nick the carbide. Finally, common mistakes like forcing dull burrs or ignoring vibration signals taught me to stop at the first sign of drag. Sharpening isn't viable for carbide, so replace promptly. And practice on scrap. My early blunders on final pieces were avoidable with that habit. Reflecting on these 15 lessons, from RPM pitfalls and cut myths to the perils of cheap sets, my carbide burr journey went from chaotic to confident. Your first set doesn't have to repeat my errors. Arm yourself with this knowledge, and you'll build skills and projects that last.